Now, the deep state, the D's, the mainstream media, they are backing themselves into a corner. They are now out there and they're giving their blessing to the looters, the people who are hurting people, and the people of this country are now watching this. They're watching, they're observing, and they now know. Because what Trump is doing, he's allowing these individuals to show their true colors. He wants everyone to see this. And all he had to do was come out and say, listen, control your neighborhoods, control your states. If you can't do it, I might have to step in. Now, he never declared martial law. I know the mainstream media and others are out there trying to say he declared martial law. No, he didn't. He did exactly what he did during the pandemic. He is calling on the governors, he's calling on the mayors to protect their citizens from these individuals that are destroying businesses, destroying the roads, destroying people's lives, hurting people. And what do people see? People are now seeing other states where they are controlling the situation. Those states, just like the lockdown states, those states who are just letting this happen, people are now starting to realize, well, wait a minute. How come everyone else has it under control and these states don't want to do it? There's something wrong here. Why are they letting this happen? Because we can see it controlled in other cities, other states. He's letting them destroy themselves. He doesn't have to do it. He's not going to declare martial law. He's not even going to bring in the military. He wants them to take care of it. The pressure now is on them, not him. It's on them. And as more time passes and the more they destroy everything, it gets worse and worse. Listen, our founding fathers allowed us to protest. Our founding fathers gave us that right. And that is a peaceful protest. It's not a protest where you go out and you hurt and you destroy people that had nothing to do with anything. And they made it very, very clear. When those individuals in Michigan, they marched on the Capitol building, it was peaceful, which they followed their First Amendment right. And they brought their weapon, which they were allowed to because they followed their Second Amendment right. So they were in their rights. These people are not. These people who are stealing, who are destroying, who are committing murder, these are crimes. It's a very big difference. And this is why our founding fathers were very, very clear on what protests are. And what they're doing, these mobs, this is weakness. This is babies screaming and yelling. And yes, there are other looters that are just going in and getting whatever they possibly can. These are not true protesters. They don't care about George Floyd. This is about something completely different. We'll be getting into all of this a little bit later. Now, what's very interesting, we see that Flynn's case is still going on. Judge Emmett Sullivan, he just won't let it go. Now remember, he's the judge, he's not a prosecutor. The prosecutor dropped the case, but he doesn't want to let this go because he got his marching orders from who? Obama. Now we need to remember, the Supreme Court, 1 week earlier, ruled that rogue judges cannot do what Judge Sullivan is wanting to do. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 to prevent judges like Emmett Sullivan from becoming tyrants on the bench. And the Department of Justice responded to the rogue judge, reminding Sullivan that we are the prosecutors here, not you. And this has gone unreported by the mainstream media and everyone else. The response from the Department of Justice came directly from the Office of the United States Solicitor General, Noel Francisco. Sean Davis at the Federalist wrote this: in a sign of how important Department of Justice views the underlying constitutional issue in the case, The formal brief to the appellate court wasn't just signed by the line attorney managing the government's case. Instead, it was signed by Noel J. Francisco, the Solicitor General of the United States, who is tasked with representing the U.S. government in the most important appellate cases across the country. Brian A. Benzkowski, the Assistant Attorney General and Head of Department of Justice, Entire Criminal Division, Deputy Solicitors General Jeffrey B. Wall and Eric J. Fain, Assistants to the Solicitor General Frederick Liu and Vivek Suri, Michael R. Sherwin, the Acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Kenneth Cole, the Acting Principal Assistant United States Attorney for D.C., and Jocelyn Ballantyne, the line prosecutor handling the Finn case at trial. The Constitution vests in the executive branch the power to decide when and when not to prosecute potential crimes. The Department of Justice argued in its brief, Rules of Federal Criminal Procedures, cited by Sullivan in support of his gamut to appoint himself both judge and prosecutor in the inquisition against Flynn, do not authorize a court to stand in the way of a dismissal the defendant does not oppose. And any other reading of those rules would violate both Article 2 and Article 3 of the Constitution. Nor, under the circumstances of this case, may the district court assume the role of prosecutor and initiate criminal charges of its own. Instead of inviting further proceedings, the court should have granted the government's motion to dismiss. The case, remember, is not in the hands of the circuit court. Obama's plans right now to indict General Flynn, they are over. Now, remember when Trump came out and he tweeted this, "Where is the 302? It is missing. Was it stolen or destroyed? General Flynn is being persecuted." Now, we know they know exactly where it is. They've been waiting for the right moment to use it. Why? Sometimes you must show the people. You must show the corruption. You must show which judges, which prosecutors are completely corrupt. And once people understand and they see it, then you can bring out the evidence and show everything that they've done from the beginning should have never happened. The original 302, in the end, will be declassified. It will show they had no case from the beginning. It would also show that everything that came after was planned to remove Flynn. You might even call this maybe the trump card. Now, today was a special day. Who was supposed to appear in court? Well, she didn't really appear. She had her attorneys appear for her. This is the appeals court. This is what Judicial Watch tweeted out. In case you missed it, JW President Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch, back in court on Clinton emails and Benghazi. State and Department of Justice sent 6 lawyers to try to protect Hillary Clinton and shut down our effort to gather evidence. Now, let's think about this for a second. Today, this court hearings was broadcast on the internet. People could listen in to what was going on. Now, isn't it a strange coincidence that they told everyone to stay off social media to honor Black Lives Matter? Remember, the court hearing is today. So both of these things are occurring at the same exact time. Is this a coincidence? I think not. I think they were trying to keep people away from the internet so they wouldn't catch on that Hillary Clinton was in court today, even though she physically was not in court. Her lawyers were there, but they are pushing her to testify under oath. Now, we know the entire pandemic is coming to an end. The deep state, they lost their narrative. Trump is holding on to all the cards, and he's going to play them when they're needed. He tweeted this out today because he's letting everyone know we're getting very, very close to some type of cure for this pandemic. This is what he tweeted out. Vaccines are coming along really well. Likewise, therapeutics, moving faster than anticipated. Good news ahead in many ways. Now, people are going to feel confident in this, that something is coming very, very soon. As the country reopens, people are going to say, okay, something's happening and it's going to happen very, very quickly. And we need to remember that optics are very important. Why does Trump mention vaccines with therapeutics? Because if he directly opposed the vaccines, the mainstream media would attack him like there's no tomorrow. And this is why he continually comes out there and says, we're working on vaccines and therapeutics, but I really think the therapeutics, that is the way to go. Think hydroxychloroquine. Think other therapeutics. This is the direction Trump is going in. And he's letting everyone know that this is coming soon. Now, as we move out of this pandemic and everything starts to open up, we know most likely they're going to try to hit us with a second wave. The mainstream media is going to start to come out with their reports that, oh, look, cases are starting to show up. And I do believe that Trump, he's just going to keep this in his back pocket to shut it down before it even gets started. And I do believe they might even try this in late September, early October. Why? Because they want the mail-in vote. And if they try to push it at that time, they can use this to get it. Now, does this mean this is the only event they're going to try? No, they're going to try others from right now, and we're seeing the second one, all the way until election time, because they're fighting for their lives, and we know that they don't care about the lives of the American people. They will do whatever they have to make sure that they're not put on trial. They're not sent to prison. So they're going to do whatever they have to do. Now, the Patriots, they understand this. They hear the chatter, they know the playbook, and they always turn these things around, and it's always used against them. Go back in time. Remember the border wall? Remember the border? A lot of people on board now saying, hey, we need to keep our borders tight. Why? Well, look, if we let people in, this pandemic would have been a lot worse. Trump always uses what they're trying to do completely against them. Now, we also know that Trump always uses words, actions against them. This way, whenever the mainstream media comes out and attacks him on it, all we have to do, and he has to do, is refer back to where he got it from. Just like the word thugs, he got it from Obama. The White House going dark, well, this was done during the Obama administration. And that picture that Hillary Clinton was pushing around, that actual picture of the White House going dark, that was from 2015. It wasn't even from the other day. And the two pictures are completely different. When the White House went dark with Trump, the inside lights were on and the outside lights were turned off. Very, very different type of image here. And we know that the deep state, the Ds, they're not going to give up. They're going to put a lot of pressure on Trump right now. We've seen it in the past, and now we're heading towards election time. And we can see with this pandemic, with the riots, it's not about any of these things. It's about one thing. What is it? It's the election. This is what Barack Obama tweeted out. Let's do this another way. Let's stop thinking our voice don't matter and vote. Not just for the president. Educate yourself and know who you're voting for. And that's how we're going to hit them. Now, they believe by having this pandemic and having this second event with riots that they are winning the people over, that they think that Trump is in trouble here. But what we're witnessing right now is the deep state, the Ds, trying to push Biden out there for the votes. Looting, murder, chaos. This is his rally. He's using this to try to get the black vote, the young vote, but it is backfiring. People know what a real protest looks like. They know it's not violence against your own people. They know it's not violence against your own neighborhood. It's not violence against innocent people. But these individuals believe by doing this, they have the upper hand. Now, we need to remember, the deep state, the Ds, they don't know how to win an honest election. They've been manipulating elections for so long, they don't even realize what they need to do to convince the people to vote for them. So what they're doing right now is pushing people away. So is this about the virus? No, it's about the election. Is this about George Floyd anymore? No, it's about the election. It's only ever been about the election because they tried everything else to remove Trump. Think about what they've tried. Russian collusion, obstruction, impeachment, pandemic. Here we are with race riots. And they can't get rid of him. He keeps turning the tables on them. This is what Trump tweeted out. Sleepy Joe has been in politics for 40 years and did nothing. Now he pretends to have the answers. He doesn't even know the questions. Weakness will never beat anarchists, looters, or thugs. And Joe has been politically weak all his life. Law and order. We have Pelosi and Schumer. They came out and they released a statement. This is what it says. Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer issued this statement after President Trump tear-gassed peaceful protesters following a press conference in which he ordered troops to dominate the streets. First of all, he did not order anyone to tear gas the peaceful protesters. We'll get into that in just a moment. That is a complete and utter lie. This is what the statement says. Across our country, Americans are protesting for an end to the pattern of racial injustice and brutality we saw most recently in the murder of George Floyd. Yet, at the time when our country cries out for unification, this president is ripping it apart, tear-gassing peaceful protesters without provocation just so that the president could pose for photos outside a church dishonors every value that the faith teaches us. We call upon the president, law enforcement, and all entrusted with the responsibility to respect the dignity and rights of all Americans. Together, we must insist on the truth that America must do much more to live up to its promise, the promise of liberty and justice for all, which so many have sacrificed for, from Dr. King to John Lewis to peaceful protesters on the streets today. Let's talk about online security. During a recent vote, the U.S. Senate has agreed to give law enforcement agencies access to web browsing history data without needing to obtain a warrant first. It is now more essential than ever to browse the web using a VPN or virtual private network. The VPN I choose is Virtual Shield because it's the fastest, easiest, and has plug-and-play 30-day free trial. Due to the recent pandemic, Virtual Shield wants to offer a 50% off all VPN plans. Sign up for a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN and see what the hype is all about. You have nothing to lose. Click the link below. At this challenging time, our nation needs real leadership. The president continued fanning the flames of discord, bigotry, and violence is cowardly, weak, and dangerous. First of all, there are no peaceful protests. What's happening here is the peaceful protests, they start out, then they send in Antifa to hijack them, and then they start destroying the entire area. And if you really look at her statement, there is no call to protest peacefully. There is no call to stop looting, killing, damaging property. There's no call to protest peacefully according to the First Amendment. Nothing. Not even mentioning it. Undercover Huber tweeted this out in response to Pelosi and the mainstream media saying that Trump ordered the police to tear gas the people. If this thread is correct, every mainstream reporter got this story catastrophically wrong yesterday. No tear gas. Park police didn't know about Trump's walk. No coordination with the White House. Clearance prompted by objects being thrown at cops by crowd and prior destructive acts. So let's think about this for a second. If the police actually fired tear gas, wouldn't they be wearing masks because they're stepping into the tear gas? Why would they have no masks on if it was tear gas? Because it wasn't tear gas. The police were being attacked, and it was smoke bombs. That's what happened. But the mainstream media, these corrupt politicians, they're all out there once again pushing fake information. And we also have certain individuals out there saying that it's not Antifa, it's white supremacists out there. They're the ones who are doing this. This is coming out of the Hill. Minnesota officials believe white supremacists attending demonstrations in Twin Cities, official says. So let's think about this logically. They're telling us that Trump is in line with the white supremacists. Why in the world would Trump tell the state, the cities, the governors, the mayors to stop all of this? If you can't stop it, I will send in the military. If it's white supremacists and they're in line with Trump, why would he stop them? It makes no sense because it's not about white supremacists. It's about Antifa. Because why would he stop his own army, as they say, from doing all of this? It just wouldn't make sense. And this is where their story completely falls apart. Now, yesterday, the police in Ohio, they stopped a bus on Broad Street and 3rd due for obstruction of traffic. And there was a suspicion of supplying riot equipment to rioters. Detectives followed up with the vehicle search today and found bats, rocks, meat cleavers, axes, clubs, and other projectiles. So they were bussing this stuff in, just like we saw the bricks being dropped off, just like we see bricks being handed out. This has been staged, and Andy Ngo, he's been reporting on Antifa for quite a while. And this is his Twitter thread on Antifa. Antifa are organized in multiple units. Scouts monitor perimeter of an area and provide live audio and text updates. There are street medics who are trained to get injured comrades out, and there are those who carry out violence with weapons and firebombs. They use signal to communicate. Antifa are the horizontally organized meeting. They don't have figureheads or leaders. It's part of their ideology that there should be no authority or state. Mistake to then assume this means they have no organization. It's a different type of organization media isn't used to. And all the other protesters, looters, are opportunists. They are just human shields for Antifa. When police try to make arrests or disperse the mob, these people are usually injured first. Footage of those injuries, example women, children, black people, are then massively amplified sympathetic media. This leads to politicians pressuring police to withdraw or scale back response. Who benefits? Antifa. This is coordinated, and they have a system. And this is what Trump and the Patriots are talking about. This is what Bill Barr is talking about. This is a terrorist group orchestrated from up top, the puppet masters. Let's go back to post 337. This is December 13, 2017. I read this post before, but I'm going to read it again. Patriots, rest assured, we are in control. Watch, confirm, and disseminate. The country is not divided. This is fake news. Antifa was organized purely for optics, RE division. It's fake. Estimated 4 to 6% we consider hopeless and forever brainwashed. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this post up is because we need to remember the 4 to 6%, they are going to stay brainwashed. And everyone believes that throughout the country, there's millions of people that are doing this. It isn't. It's a very small percentage. And from all their acts and from all their damage, it makes it seem a lot bigger than it really is. Because remember, there are peaceful protests that are out there. And intertwined into these peaceful protests, we have these Antifa mobs made up of 15 to 25 people. They create the damage, but we do have the peaceful protesters out there, and it makes it seem like it's all part of the same group. It is not. So what we're seeing is a very small percentage that is causing all of this because they've been brainwashed and they're just out there following their orders. Dan Scavino Jr. tweeted this out. Wake up, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. Great curfew enforcement. How could you go another night without bringing in the National Guard? Isn't the safety of New Yorkers, peaceful protesters, and tourists a priority? Businesses are being looted and destroyed. You're doing nothing. You are weak. Trump tweeted this out. Yesterday was a bad day for the Cuomo brothers. New York was lost to the looters, thugs, radical left, and all other forms of lowlife and scum. The governor refuses to accept my offer of dominating National Guard. New York City was ripped to pieces likewise. Fredo's ratings are down 50%. Trump continued. New York City, call up the National Guard. The lowlifes and losers are ripping you apart. Act fast. Don't make the same horrible and deadly mistake you made with the nursing homes. Trump is hitting them really hard. And the former mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, he tweeted this out. The mayor of New York City had lost control of the mob in the city. The mayor is preventing the NYPD to take action necessary to stop brutal attacks on police and citizens. He is also falsely accusing NYPD of taking excessive action when he has made them punching bags. And Cuomo, it looks like he's getting a lot of pressure because he came out and he said, listen, de Blasio, I'm going to displace you as the New York mayor unless you bring in the National Guard. Now, de Blasio's out there saying we don't need the National Guard. They're not trained for this, so we're going to use our police. Now, remember, their curfew time in New York was 11 p.m. Everywhere else, it was either 7, 8, or 9. So he made his the latest. This was done on purpose. But what's very interesting about this is de Blasio used the National Guard to quarantine neighborhoods during the virus. Now he refuses to use the National Guard to prevent mob violence, looting, and arson. So does this make sense? No. But to the deep state plans, it does. Because during the pandemic, he wanted everyone kept home. He wanted everything safe and secure. He didn't want people out. During the looting, he wants the opposite. Trump tweeted this out. D.C. had no problems last night. Many arrests. Great job done by all. Overwhelming force domination. Likewise, Minneapolis was great. Thank you, President Trump. So, the National Guard in these cities, they are keeping the peace. People's businesses are not being destroyed. Looting has been stopped. People beating on others have been stopped, except for certain areas. Now, governors, they activated about 17,000 National Guardsmen in 23 states and D.C. amid riots. And they are controlling the situation. Remember, the deep state, they wanted a race war. They wanted division. They wanted chaos. Trump, he turned the tables on them again. Just by announcing that he wants every governor or mayor to protect their citizens, towns, cities, and state by doing their job, the entire country is now watching. People are watching the looting, the violence firsthand. They see buildings burning. They see windows being broken. They're seeing their businesses being destroyed. And it's not just white businesses. It's Asian businesses. It's black businesses. They're destroying it all. As other states stop the violence, they stop the looting, and they allow peaceful protests, the states, the cities, the towns that are doing nothing, they stand out. Everyone notices. The people are now wondering why the elected officials are not doing anything to stop the violence. Think November 3rd. This is what Trump tweeted out. My admin has done more for black community than any president since Abraham Lincoln. Passed opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott, guaranteed funding for HBCUs, school choice, passed criminal justice reform, lowest black unemployment, poverty, and crime rates in history, and the best is yet to come. What do you think Trump is going to do? Let's think about infrastructure. Let's think about rebuilding these areas for the people. The areas that the protesters, rioters destroyed. He's going to rebuild it. And people are going to see him as the builder, as a president that has restored their community after these individuals destroyed it. And as we can see, Trump, he's moving forward with his agenda and his plan. He's been tweeting out a series of House endorsements today. He fully intends for the GOP to win back the House this November and have governors and mayors replaced. He tweeted this out. Republicans, get out and vote today for those great candidates that will lead to big victories on November 3rd. Make America great again. Silent majority. Now remember, just because you're a silent majority, it doesn't mean that we the people are weak. Just because you're not out there screaming and yelling doesn't mean you don't have a voice. The silent majority, the people that are sitting back and watching this, who are silent, who are observing, they know what's going on. But they're not going to go up and go out there and scream and yell. They're going to take everything that they're seeing and they're going to use it. They're going to show the entire country how powerful the silent majority is. When the election time comes, we're going to see this silent majority come out. And they're going to show these individuals how powerful we, the people, are. And there was a poll, there's a new poll, by Morning Consult, found that a large majority of American voters, including the majority of the Democratic supporters, back the use of the National Guard to address the riots who are tearing up their cities, their businesses. The people see this. Trump understands this. He has now backed the deep state, the D's, the mainstream media, into a corner again. Now, absent from every single tweet, absent from the mainstream media as they report on the riots and the protesters that were doing this for George Floyd. They're missing one important thing, is that Terrence Floyd, his brother, says, we never asked for this. Actually, we don't even want this. He goes, I'm blood. And my brother's death is an awful thing. It should have never happened. But we don't want you out there destroying our neighborhoods, our businesses. Why would we want this? We can do it another way. Take a listen.
All of this is not necessary because if his own family and blood is not doing it, then why are you? If his own family and blood is trying to deal with it and be positive about it and go another route to seek justice, then why are you out here tearing up your community? Because when you finish and then you turn around and then you want to go buy something, you done tore it up. So now you messed up your own living arrangements. So just relax. Justice will be served.
Are you afraid the message is getting lost because of all this?
Yes, sir, I am.
So the question is this really about George Floyd? Because Terrence Floyd, the brother, the family, is saying we want peaceful protests. We don't want you destroying our neighborhoods. Because a couple weeks from now, we're going to look back at this and say, what happened to our neighborhoods? Actually, there was a black business owner where they destroyed her business. And she's saying, what's going on here? I'm black and you destroyed my business. How does this help? It doesn't. And if they were truly doing this for George Floyd, as his brother said, he was a gentle giant. He would want peace. He would want peaceful protests. He wouldn't want people destroying and looting. They're doing the opposite of what the family wants. And this should speak volumes. The deep state, they're trying to find something to use on Trump throughout all these riots and everything. They're looking to smear him. Most likely they'll either create something that is completely fake and spun because they need to show that he's some type of dictator. Remember, they're using all the isms. They're trying to make it seem like he's dividing the country. Actually, he's doing the opposite. He's showing the individuals that are dividing the country. And it seems that every single high-profile Democrat has come out in favor of arson and looting. They've already lost. Trump has cornered them. The people are watching. The people are hardworking. And when you see your life's work destroyed, or you see your town, the city destroyed, people see it very, very clearly. They know it is wrong. They know this shouldn't be happening. And when the people that were elected don't do anything, and they support the people doing this, listen, the people might be silent. It doesn't mean that they're weak. They might not scream and yell, but don't be fooled. We, as a people, we're strong. We are the silent majority fighting a silent war. People are going to show their anger in a different way. They're going to show it at the polls. And the deep state, the D's, they have already lost their narrative. They just destroyed their entire push to get rid of